Hello, Ray Phoenix here, and welcome to Let's Play Captain Commando Part 1. This is the SNES version of Captain Commando, which came out a few years after the original arcade game. This is by far, one of Capcom's better brawler-type games. It's actually quite better than Final Fight. And it's probably even better than Streets of Rage, I don't know, or better than and even better than whatever games it is. This is probably better than the Batman Returns video game on the SNES, which I also plan on playing that at some point. So yes, this is Captain Commando. You pretty much play as a team of superheroes called the Commandos that have to defeat that evil villain we saw at the beginning called Scumocide or whatever his name is. I don't know, they changed it in this version of the game. This game does suffer from unnecessary censorship, kind of like Wolfenstein 3D on the SNES. And so as you see, I always play as Captain Commando because, why would you not play as Captain Commando in a game like this? That's like playing a Batman game and not playing as Batman. You play as a Batman game so you can play as Batman, right? You don't play a Batman game so you can be Robin, his scrawny little sidekick. No, you want to be Batman. Well, that's exactly the case of this. You play a Captain Commando game so you could be Captain Commando. That's why you play as this. That's why you play this game. And Captain Commando, he's the best fighter there is in this game. There's other commandos. There's also Mummy Commando, Ninja Commando, and Baby Commando, but they're all a bunch of wussies. Captain Commando's the real hero in this game. And there's all sorts of moves he has too. He can like run and dash. He even has a flamethrower in his wrist. The original arcade game is very violent and gory and bloody. You get decapitated and it shows blood and gore like in Mortal Kombat. Of course, there isn't any in this version, though, which is actually, I find, quite unnecessary. You see, I actually have the original uncensored version on the Capcom Classics Collection Volume 2, which is rated T, and this version is censored, and usually the reason why you censor something is so that it could, so more people could play it, so it's more suitable to kids and family and things like that. But if it's gonna be have the exact same rating it does, this game is censored, but it's still rated T, if it's gonna have the same rating, then what was the point of censorship then? It's got unnecessary censorship. It's kind of pointless, and you might as well just left it as is. But I bet they censored it for the same reason why Wolfenstein 3D on the SNES was censored. Nintendo probably didn't want them releasing a gory game on their kid-friendly, family-friendly system. They probably were forced to, to censor out the game, to censor everything, and to censor all the remote violence in the game, or censor. It's not even necessarily violence. Even some of the characters' names are changed. We'll see that later. We'll see that later soon. And there's no decapitations in this game. There's no getting cut in half. There's blood and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's kind of how it is in this game. I'm surprised they even bothered putting this on the SNES and they never put it on the Genesis. The Genesis is more the system. Sega doesn't censor their games. Mortal Kombat, for example. Mortal Kombat, the Genesis is a lot more gory and dark than this game. And they left out the same on Genesis, so maybe they should have released it on Genesis. I don't think this game had a Genesis release, though, but it should have, though. Considering how much greater the Genesis was in the SNES. The Genesis will always be my favorite 16-bitter. It was also the best Sega, in my opinion, too. I think most people would agree with me on those things. A lot of people may disagree with me on the best 16-bitter part. Now, the SNES sure may have been more fluid and moted and more, more sharper and had better sound quality, which you don't really notice that much. When I play this on an emulator, it doesn't have the best sound quality. The SNES 9X emulator. So now we're in the museum right now. As you can see, we're fighting a bunch of these people called Samsung and Organo. I don't know why they call them that, but apparently we're in some sort of biblical, it's some sort of biblical exhibit or something. Then there's guys with the lighters. They probably drank a lot of scotch or moonshine, and they have those lighters things there. They're gonna breathe into them and start a stream of fire, kind of like what the Grinch did in that Grinch movie, where he set the Christmas tree on fire. And then I watched a movie with my grandma once. My grandma thought someone died in that movie. The reason why she thought that, because usually when things like that happen in real life, as you probably know, someone dies. Someone ends up dead. And so as you see here, I keep getting fried by them. You see, you catch on fire completely. I think this one of the Street Fighter games may have had something like that. And speaking of Street Fighter games, I think Captain Commando may have appeared in some of the Marvel vs. Capcom games. It makes sense since he's a superhero, and Marvel's mostly superheroes, and he'd be, and there makes sense I can easily imagine Captain Commando being his own comic character, and being his franchise of games, but this game never had any sequels that I know of. I don't think there was ever Captain Commando 2 or any sequels or follow-ups. I'm not even sure if it was intended to have sequels. Like Philosoma on the PS1, it was supposed to have sequels, but it never did. For some reason, the closest it ever had to a sequel is some RPG game that was very different, and it appeared on the PS2 and then years later, but this game never even got anything like that. And again, a lot of great games in the 90s didn't have sequels. Bubsy had a lot of sequels for some reason, and Bubsy was nowhere near as good as this. And then there was like Dynamite Headdy. Dynamite Headdy never was awesome, and that never got any sequels. A lot of games in the great games in the 90s never got any sequels. It's just really quite a shame actually that a lot of them were left forgotten. And yet years later, Bugsy returns, and none of those other characters like the Dynamite Headdy or Vector Man or those other and Captain Commando and characters, like we never see them anymore. Hear anything about them anymore. It's quite a shame actually. Even today, that still is a problem. Why do characters like Bubsy get so many games and Captain Commando only gets one game? I remember first playing this I got the Capcom Classics Collection Volume 2 in December 2007. And I remember playing this game along with Final Fight, and I remember 1941. My father was a big fan of 1941, and I agree, actually was the best game on that collection, 1941. This game's still pretty good too. I played this game quite a bit. Now we're in some sort of ninja temple where you have to go and fight, ninjas. You have to, and one of the characters in this game is a ninja. I tried playing as that character in this level though, but it didn't work very well. You can only choose your character or change your character when you game over, and I don't really want to keep doing that. You don't get it. Your continues are not unlimited. When you play it on the Capcom Classics Collection Volume 2, your continues are unlimited. But in this, you don't get unlimited continues, because they're trying to simulate the Capcom Classics Collection. They try to simulate what it's like to play on an actual arcade machine, where you just put another quarter or token or whatever type of coin. It's probably $1 now or something like that, thanks to inflation, into the machine so you could play another game. But of course, you don't get that in a game system. But here they just gave you continues, and you don't even have an unlimited amount of them, which is, not uncommon for games of this era, for the SNES and Genesis. I also might point out too, this version of Captain Commando is copyrighted in 1995, so that means it came out the same year the PS1 came out, which, as we know, by 1995, 2D 16-bit stuff wasn't really in anymore. Now people are more into, the 3D stuff, and then the N64 came out the next year, and the rest is history. People are kind of losing interest in games like these. That's why games like Vector Man didn't do as well, because it came out too many years too late. A similar thing happened to the Atari 7800 in 1986. It's 1986, Nintendo is already out. We already have Super Mario Bros., and Atari still makes remakes of Asteroids and Millipede and things like that. Stuff that's old stuff. That's why it failed. That's why it failed, because people weren't really in the market for that anymore. It came out too late. It came out too many years too late. So now you have more ninjas popping out of the walls. This kind of reminds me a little bit of that ninja temple from Ape Escape 3, where all the ninjas and ninja monkeys come out at you, and you have to capture them, and things like that, or fight ninja enemies, things like that. And every character, and almost every different type of enemy in this game has its own name, and they clone them too. That's how they all have different names. They have multiple ones with the same name that look exactly the same. They're all clones, if it isn't obvious. They're all clones. That means that Skooma must have a cloning machine, just like the people in Final Fight and Streets of Rage and things like that. They always use clones. All the great enemies use, all the great bad guys in these games use clones. Why do you think they, even Dr. Robotnik must have some kind of cloner machine or something? That's, he has so many robots that all look the same. Or like in Mario, where they have the turtle things, Koopa things or whatever, and they all look exactly the same kind of thing. There obviously must be some sort of clone. There's no way that many of that could possibly exist, right? No, it's obviously cloning, which actually is, theoretically possible. It's a very dicey process in real life. I'm not going to go into detail of it, but so here's the boss of the game. It's actually easier than it is in the arcade game. Overall, this version actually is a lot easier than, the arcade version. So there's Yamato. Yamato could cut you in half, and there's blood and gore when you get cut in half in the original games I mentioned earlier. But no, we don't get any of that in this game. And Yamato is also a lot weaker in this game too. All the bosses in this game are weaker. All except one are significantly weaker. And the most difficult boss in the game is not the final boss. The final boss is actually kind of a joke in the SNES version, but there's some other boss that's coming up soon that's actually, pretty challenging, actually. If you keep spawning ninjas or enemies out at you while you keep playing them, I reckon my tactical strategy is just walk up to them, and it's easy to do in this version where he forms a grip on them, and then throw them. It's not a throwing. It's like in that 1987 Ninja Turtles show where all they do mostly is just throw the enemies around. It's a lot of it's grabbing on enemies and throwing them around, because back in those days, people were more concerned about violence in kids' cartoons. And oh boy, times have changed. There was the Power Rangers controversy. A lot of parents didn't let their kids watch Power Rangers because it was too violent, but yet these same parents would let their kids watch South Park. So there we took on Wookiee, one of the first enemies we see in this game. In the SNES version, sorry, not SNES, the arcade version, there was a lot more bad guys coming out at you at this part, but no, they took out most of them. Sometimes I think some of these changes may have been due to the limitations of the SNES, because arcade machines at the time were probably more powerful than the SNES system. So now we're going to take on a gauntlet of Wookiees. That's right, they're called Wookiee, these enemies called Wookiee is their name. Oh, I wonder who named their kid that. I don't know, it's probably a stage name or something like that, considering the fact they're in the circus. Look at how they're dressed too. I wonder what they are. Are they putties like in Power Rangers? You know, putties, those things that Power Rangers fight. They're like made out of frickin' Play-Doh or something like that. Yeah, they're putties. They're made out of Play-Doh. What do you expect? They probably are made out of Play-Doh. Maybe that's why it's so easy to clone them, because they're made out of Play-Doh or Play Clay, whatever you call them. I don't know. I don't want Hasbro suing me for this or that. Not that I'd ever get sued. No one wants to sue me. Who would ever want to sue me? No one would ever want to sue me. I could say some of the worst things ever in my videos and no one would sue me. Partially is because no one watches my videos, really. I'm surprised. My Knights of the Round Table I made last week barely got any views at all. And I'm going to be taking a long break from video making after this. I'm back in school. I'm back in computer science college right now. Difficult, not animation, sorry, I'm learning about stuff related to animation, which is, computer programs, things like that. But look at the background. You can see Skumoside's on the TV, the main villain's on the TV screen in there. And you see where this is the most difficult boss in the game. I have to fight this monster. He looks like the Hulk. He keeps running around. You have to know exactly where he is. Ooh, I actually got a good hit on him there. So you have to know exactly where he's going to be. It takes a lot of foresight, a lot of seeing the future. And so this is why he's by far the most difficult boss battle in the game. You have to know what he's going to do 10 steps before he actually does it. He murders you easy. He could rip you to shreds easy. He's even worse. He's like an evil version of the Hulk. I think there is a Hulk villain that's actually like that. Isn't he called Abomination or something? I know, I haven't seen the Hulk in a long time. I haven't read very many Hulk comics. I actually have a Hulk comic somewhere. It was a special 30th anniversary edition of the Hulk, which came out in 1992. It's one of those comics I got for Christmas, though. Not last Christmas, of course, before last Christmas. And so, yeah, that's where I'm going to end the first part of this Let's Play. This is Ray Phoenix, signing out.